Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Big Apple Banter Media here with Elias. Today, I'll be talking about who I think the Mets should hire as their GM and their manager. Before we get into that, just a couple housekeepings out of the way. It seems like we start every video that way, but gonna try to get more uploads frequently. Gonna try to do one Mets video, one Jets video a week. Don't expect, there's some weeks I might not be doing that just because I've said I'll upload more in the past and that doesn't happen, but I'm gonna try to push myself to get more content out with you for you guys. Really appreciate the support, and let's get right into it. So the Mets have an opening at their manager position, and hopefully at their GM position. So obviously Luis Rojas was fired about a couple weeks ago. It seems like I think 2 weeks ago at this point, and they're in the manager search. And now at general manager, they still have Zach Scott and Sandy Alderson, neither of which have any business being in that position for a big market team. Zach Scott wasn't great as a acting general manager and got it busted for a DUI. And Sandy Alderson, well, I've gone off about him. League's passed him by. He can go ahead, be the team president, be in charge of scouting and whatnot. Clueless when it comes to free agency, makes a ton of awful moves. He signed James McCann, didn't sign George Springer because he wanted to extend Michael Conforto. And how did that end up? I can talk about him all day, but that's besides the point. So hypothetically, there will be two openings. Sandy Alderson will step down and hire president of baseball operations or GM, whatever you want to call the role. And I'm going to talk to you guys about who I think the Mets should hire. So let's start with the managers. Manager, obviously, like I said, Luis Rojas was fired. Manager now, yes, is very important, not as important as it used to be. It seems like it's usually the scapegoat position for when the team sucks. You get rid of the manager. That's what happened this year. Luis Rojas got fired because the team was bad. He was also a bad manager if you watch the games, but usually record is kind of your main describing factor for a manager. So let's get started. SNY put up this graphic a couple weeks right when Luis Rojas was fired, and I'm going to highlight a couple names. I'm not going to go through everybody about who I want. So obviously the popular name is Carlos Beltran. Obviously he was hired as the Mets manager back with Bertie Van Wagenen and the Wilpon regime, and then got fired before he could manage a game because of the whole Houston cheating thing. Still perfect record as a manager, though. Credit for that. But for me, I'm honestly all set at Carlos Beltran. I'm not saying I need managing experience, but I definitely need coaching experience, which Carlos Beltran does not have. He seems a bit low key too. He seems like a very calm personality, and I'd rather have a bit of a rah-rah guy. Now, I'm not, there talking with them. Now, the Houston situation is completely in the past. AJ Hinch has gotten a job. Alex Cora's gotten a job. A guy we're going to talk about in a little bit might get a job. So that doesn't bother me. I just wish get someone a little more experience. And the media will pound the team if they rehire this guy. Next, Ron Washington, definitely intriguing. Third base coach for the Atlanta Braves. He was a former player, of course. Played for teams like the Dodgers, the Twins, Orioles, Indians, Astros. His name has been brought up in a lot of discussions. Now, I watch Atlanta Brave baseball with the Mets playing them, of course, but I don't really study what the third base coach is doing. I don't know if you guys do. But his name has been floating around there. It looks like the Padres are interested in him. We're interested in him. Definitely someone I'd take a look at. Eduardo Perez, I'm all set on, honestly. A broadcast guy. He's been in the booth for a while now. Kind of like an Aaron Boone situation. I'm just really all set in this guy. He can stay in the broadcast booth. Once again, someone with a little more experience. Bob Melvin's obviously the hot name now with Billy Beane possibly not coming here, which we'll get into in a sec. It's not going to happen unless you trade for him, which I'm all set on trading for a manager, especially a guy he's not, the oldest guy in the world, but he's probably going to stay in Oakland. Is he going to re-up with the Mets after this year? Probably not. He's a phenomenal manager. He's my number one choice, of course, but having to trade for him, I'm kind of all set on, and he's not coming here. The A's aren't going to fire him. He can't resign and then sit out a year. I don't even know how the system works, but Bob Melvin isn't coming here, but man, it would be great for him to have him here. Clint Hurdle, my God, why is this guy being brought up? He's never won anything in this league. Longtime Pirate manager and never did anything. Not much to say there. Buck Showalter, another guy, another retread veteran that keeps being brought up. He's been out of the league for a while now. I want no part of this guy. Obviously, everyone knows how he blew the game against the Blue Jays when Zach Britton had the opportunity to close out the game, and they went with I don't even know who. When Zach Britton was having maybe the best reliever season we've seen in years. So yeah, I'm all set on Buck Showalter. Both those guys. If you know me, you know I'm not crazy about getting these retread guys who've been out of the league for a while, who kind of fizzled out in their time in the league. The rest of the names I'm not honestly the most familiar with, so I'm not going to comment on those guys. But those are who I think the manager. Now, to get down to who I think the manager should be, I want some nobody that you've never heard of from the Brewers, the Giants, the Dodgers, the Braves, guys like that. I'm cool having a first-time manager, getting some bench coach or something from one of those teams who's, a phenomenally run organization who utilizes analytics to their advantage. I love a guy like that. All these flashy names really don't do it for me. Bob Melvin's a dream. It's not happening, though. So let's move on to the general manager. So wrote a couple names down. Once again, nobody from some random team. I'm all for from the Giants, Brewers, Dodgers, Rays, very well-run teams that, win, and they use analytics to get most out of their players, but also are good teams outside of that. I would sign up for. Let me read a couple names. An interesting name is Brian Cashman. Now, he hasn't been fired yet. There's a chance the Yankees let go of him after losing in the wild card game. I think he would have been gone. Him and Boone would have been gone if they didn't make the playoffs. But they lost in a one-game wild card series to the Boston Red Sox. Doesn't look good. He's kind of fallen off for a while now. So why am I intrigued? I mean, he's been a great GM for a while now. He's made a lot of good moves at the trade deadline. Rizzo was good. Gallo wasn't particularly great, but that team was dead, and he got them, the trade deadline into the playoffs. So you got to credit him for that, and having just an awful manager. Brian Cashman, he's definitely not my number one choice, but he definitely is intriguing. Next is Jeff Luhnow. I mentioned him earlier. Obviously, former Houston Astros GM. Obviously, the cheating, all that good stuff. Well, it's not good, but that's obviously in his past, which it's unfortunate. But all the other guys have gotten jobs. Except by other guys, I mean Cora and Hinch. This dude built the Astros, built that team that had dynasty potential. That core is still phenomenal. Correa, Altuve, Bregman, Springer. That whole core is just phenomenal. And yeah, obviously Springer's not there anymore, but they had the cheating stuff and whatnot. But Luhnow, he's a great GM. I would totally be in favor of getting this guy. Last guy's my number one, though. And shout out to my guy, Andrew Acevedo, for putting me onto this guy on Last Mets Weekly. I wasn't there, but I watched it after the fact. And that is Josh Burns. So I wrote a couple notes about this guy. He is currently the vice president of baseball operations for the LA Dodgers. And what does Steve Cohen want the Mets to be? The East Coast Dodgers. Remember his opening press conference, how he wants us to be kind of like the Dodgers, a team that wins, that spends a shit ton of money, but also gets these nobodies and turns them into stars. Yeah, sign me up for that. So Josh Burns has had a really respectable career, especially in the scouting department. With the Diamondbacks, he's drafted a few names that you may have heard of: Max Scherzer, AJ Pollock, Paul Goldschmidt. Then he went to the Padres, Max Fried, Hunter Renfroe, Trey Turner. And then with the Dodgers, Walker Buehler, Will Smith. Now, was he responsible for drafting all these guys? No, not necessarily, but he is in that front office. He's there. He's a part of the process, and you can't just pluck some GM from some random team. I see on these articles just, hire this guy, hire David Stearns. He's not coming here. A lot of these guys, teams aren't going to let us meet with. Hopefully Josh Burns is a guy that we can meet with and we will have access to. I would love to make this guy the president of baseball ops, GM, whatever you want to call him. Obviously, Theo Epstein, Billy Beane, they ain't coming here. Never thought they were. Billy Beane wasn't crazy about, but with Bob Melvin and getting a GM underneath him, kind of have him as the president of baseball ops, and and a GM below him is kind of a collaborative effort with Bob Melvin, I would have been cool with. Just with Billy Beane, the whole Moneyball thing in a big market, I don't know how well it would play. And obviously, everyone wanted Theo Epstein. Met with Steve Cohen. He ain't coming here. He's going to go work for the commissioner's office. So those are my thoughts on who the Mets should hire as their GM and their manager. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at the Elias Solomon. That's usually where I get most of my takes and whatnot. I'll have that link down below. Also, if you guys are into music, check me out on Instagram, Elias Solomon Music. Been posting more music stuff over there if you guys are into that. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next.